I woke up to an emergency broadcast written by Red Brody 7. I just got home from the bar, my friend dropping me off at my house. It was on the edge of town. My nearest neighbor is about 2 miles away. I turned on the TV, but I was far too tired to watch anything for more than 5 minutes, so I passed out on the couch. I stumbled awake with a splitting headache and massive nausea. I glanced at the television. The screen was completely red with bold white letters in the center. Emergency Alert System, it read. I was wondering what was going on because I couldn't hear any rain outside. In fact, there was barely any wind. It beeped once more, and the message started playing.
This is an emergency alert system. Warning in effect for Lucas Jensen.
At this exact moment, my heart sank. My name is Lucas Jensen. I have no idea what to think, or do for that matter. Ever heard the expression frozen in fear? Well, that's exactly what I was. I wanted to move, but I couldn't. I was slowly reaching for the remote, forcing my body to move in the slightest way. I was about to press the off button before I heard what came next.
Precautionary measures. Don't look behind you. Don't look out your windows. Don't look behind you. Don't look behind you. Don't look behind you. Don't look behind you.
It kept on repeating and repeating this message. I was frozen in fear, staring at the screen. This had to be some sort of prank. It had to be.
It's too late. It will be coming. Look out your windows.
I didn't. I kept my eyes glued on the screen, shaking. I tried to grab my phone and call someone, but I couldn't move.
It's too late. Make your way to the basement and welcome it.
I heard something downstairs then.
Look out your window. Please, look out the window behind you. Look out your window.
I finally willed myself to get up, staring at the floor. I ran upstairs and entered my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I ran into the closet, closing the door. I could still hear the TV downstairs.
It is safe. Open the closet. It is safe. Open the closet.
I could hear movement downstairs. I heard glass shatter.
You may now look out your window. Open your blinds. Look outside. Look outside. Look outside. Look outside.
I hear it coming up the stairs now.
Come downstairs, as it is too late. Please, it is time.
I heard nothing else from the TV. I finally will myself to call the first number that came to mind, 911. It rings for a few seconds, and then someone answers. I noticed the lack of a 911, what's your emergency? Instead, I hear something a lot worse.
Hello. Hey, warning is in effect for Lucas Jensen. Look out the window immediately. You must look out the window.
I hang up. I finally accept what is going to happen. I have no more choices. I hear something outside the closet now. Don't open sealed closet doors. Written by ThatIckyGuy. My wife and I bought our first house after being married for only a year. It was an old mansion that needed some work, but we got it for fairly cheap. When our realtor took us around the house, she pointed out the various rooms but seemed to skip over the door beneath the main stairs. "Is that a closet?" I asked. The realtor checked her notes and then frowned. "I'm not sure," she admitted, and we moved on. My wife lingered for a few seconds, entrapped by the mysterious door beneath the stairs. After we finished the tour and decided to buy the house, we moved in shortly after. Neither of us remembered the door right away. It wasn't until my wife was cooking dinner not long after the move and I was putting away items that I happened across the door again. I set the box of items down that I was carrying and I turned the knob. The knob rotated a full 360 degrees, but the door would not open. It must have been painted shut, I decided, and I went to get a knife from the kitchen. I put the knife between the door and the frame and I tried to cut the paint. After a few minutes, I sat the knife down and I opened the door. To my dismay, the door only led to a closet. The shelves were empty, except for a large, ugly cat carved in wood. I picked up the cat and I looked at it. It was some unearthly being, not unlike a lion or a tiger. Its face was in the form of a growl. I shrugged and set the cat down on a nearby table and put the box in its place. "You got the door open," my wife said behind me, causing me to jump. "Honey, you scared me," I said, and I wrapped my arms around her. "Sorry, I just came to tell you that dinner was ready. I can't believe there's nothing in that closet. It's so anticlimactic," she said. "It wasn't completely empty," I said, and I motioned to the cat statue. She pulled away from me and picked up the cat, remarking at how ugly it was. Looking back now, I really wish that I hadn't opened that door. You see, that was the last night that I saw my wife. We went to bed soon after dinner, as we were both tired. Sometime during the night, I felt my wife get out of bed, and I woke up since I was a light sleeper. She walked across the room and fiddled with the doorknob. I didn't know if she was sleepwalking or if she had to go to the bathroom, but there was a bathroom in the master bedroom that she walked past. I got up on the off chance that I needed to redirect her or stop her from running into something. Now, I had heard that you weren't supposed to wake a sleepwalker, but I had also heard that that was a myth. Not quite sure what to believe, I decided to follow her. She walked down the stairs, seeming oblivious to me, even though my foot caused the floorboards to creak. It occurred to me halfway down the stairs where she was going, the mysterious closet underneath the stairs. As soon as she was on the landing, I could hear soft music coming from somewhere. She turned the corner around the stairs, and I got to the bottom just in time to see her yank the closet door open. A bright light shone out from the door, and the music got louder. I could hear a choir of women singing in a language that I didn't understand. I called out my wife's name as she stumbled into the door. The music swelled as she continued walking. I screamed her name as she walked into the closet. It snapped shut a moment later, the music and the light dying down behind her. I ran the rest of the way to the closet and I pulled the door open. There was nothing in there. Nothing but shelves and a few boxes. I spent the next day talking to the police. They asked me the obvious questions that I couldn't answer, like when was the last time I saw her. Yes, I had seen her last night, but I couldn't exactly tell them where, or the fact that she had vanished right in front of me. All that I could do was fill out the missing persons report and hope that they didn't make the jump to murder. When the police finally left, I had to busy myself with unpacking. I didn't eat. I didn't take a nap. I couldn't call my wife's friends or family about this because she didn't run away. No, she was just gone. Night rolled around and I reluctantly went to bed. I hadn't meant to, but I dozed off for an hour before I was awoken. The music was soft at first as I was coming to my senses, but it ramped up. I could hear the singing and it started drilling into my mind and into my senses. I couldn't understand the lyrics, but I felt enthralled by it. I started to move towards the door of my bedroom against my will. I fought it, but was already halfway down the stairs before I knew it. I saw the closet door, light spilling from the crack beneath the door and the frame. No, I did not want to open the door. The music called to me, but I could do nothing but continue onwards. My hand touched the doorknob and it turned. I was powerless to stop myself. When the door opened, the light touched my face and it was beautiful. Part of me wanted to go into the light and be embraced by its warm glow. And then I heard a familiar voice calling my name. It was my wife. She started screaming my name, which drowned out the singing. The voices stopped singing, and a few seconds later, my wife cried out in pain. She fell silent again, but she had broken me free of whatever spell the singers had on me. I slammed the door shut and I sobbed. The sobbing turned into crying, and I threw my back against the door and I slid down until I was sitting on the floor. I didn't know if the door would call to me again, where the light led, or if I would ever see my wife again. Right then, all that I knew was that I needed to get out of that house. I started to get to my feet, and my elbow brushed up against something large and furry. I felt hot breath on my arm, and I looked up. I stared into the face of the angry, cat-like creature, except now it was full-sized and no longer made out of wood. It didn't do anything, it just stared. Written by Cars, Planes, Trains. I'm now at a gas station on Autobahn 7 near Würzburg, Germany, trying to get out of this country. The truckers and other late-night drivers are probably thinking I'm crazy, typing so fast on my phone. But I'm not, and you must believe me. Let me tell you why I'm leaving, and no, it's not for political reasons or that someone threatened me with a gun. In fact, it would have been better if someone had threatened me with a gun, because that would make the situation a lot better. Let me just begin at the start. All of this started last Wednesday. I was walking to my local grocery store. It was very early, around 6 a.m. I had forgotten to buy breakfast last night, so I had to buy it today. While I was walking, I got the feeling that I was being watched. I've had this feeling since my childhood, just like everyone. I looked around, but there was no one. Of course there was no one. I just kept walking. But a little later, I had that feeling again. This time I looked again, and I saw a silhouette diving into a small street. Because it was dark, I thought it was a cat. And when I heard a trash can fall over, I was sure that it was a cat. You see, my town has a problem with cats knocking over trash cans. Anyway, I got to the store, I bought some bread and cheese, and then I went home. When I was unlocking the door, I had the feeling again. I looked around, a bit scared now, and I saw that my neighbor's cat was looking at me. Cursing myself for being scared of the cat, I went inside. The day went just like normal. I worked, I ordered a pizza, I watched football, or soccer for Americans, and I went to bed around 10:30 p.m. I'm a heavy sleeper, and I usually sleep through the night, but this time I woke up around 2 a.m. I woke up Layla, my golden retriever, to cuddle with. I always do that when I'm awake late at night. She's soft and she helps me relax, usually. She would normally wake up and come to my bed, where we could cuddle, and eventually I would get to sleep. But tonight, she just started growling at the door. I always have the door open and the bathroom light on because I'm kind of scared of the dark. I looked through the door and I saw a shape running away. Layla now looked very pleased with herself, as if she had hunted down a burglar and scared him off. The shadow freaked me out, but I was actually more freaked out about the way Layla was behaving. The shadow could have been a trick of the light, but that Layla, a golden retriever, one of the most peaceful dogs in the world. I mean, Layla would probably just run up and lick a thief, but this time she didn't run cheerfully towards it. She growled at it. I didn't sleep anymore. I decided to just play video games. The next night, Layla was at my aunt's house because my little cousins absolutely love her. I had had a normal day again, but that night, I woke up at 1 a.m. I shot up like I had had a nightmare, although I didn't recall one. Now, I immediately looked at the door, and again, I saw the shadow running away. I know I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. So I got in my car, a BMW 535i, which I think explains why I like to drive. I mean, that car is great. And I drove around without any destination. The next 2 nights were exactly the same, but the 5th night, last night, the worst thing ever happened. Layla had just returned home, and I was happy. The day was normal as usual, but the night, I was sleeping, and again, I woke up at 2 a.m. But now, not because of a nightmare that I couldn't remember, but from Layla barking. She was barking really aggressively. I looked at the door, and there it was. A pitch-black creature with big, wide eyes and no mouth, just staring at me. I grabbed my phone to take a photo because someone had told me that if you ever encounter something supernatural, don't try to fight it, but take a picture. That's how they get scared. It sounded like bullcrap to me, but it was the only hope I had of saving myself and Layla. The minute that my screen lit up, the creature ran away. I felt so relieved that I immediately fell asleep. The next day, I put my house up for sale, and I told the real estate company to sell my house to the first person that wanted it. I then packed up all my stuff except the furniture, and I got in my car. I went to all my friends and family in the area to tell them that I was moving away to study. That night, I locked the door to my house for the last time, and when I looked up, I saw the creature staring at me from the window. I floored my car to get out of there, and I hit the road. Now, for those of you that are wondering, me and Layla are okay. I'm drinking some coffee, and she's sitting next to me. I got an offer of 272,000 euros for the house, which I accepted. I'm now heading to Austria. I have some friends in a small town there, and they'll hopefully let me sleep there for a few nights. Don't count on an update if nothing happens. Good night, everyone. I'm going back on the road.
My neighbor seems to have a problem with wiping the smile off his face. By Ariana. I remember seeing him for the first time when I first moved in. Something about him caught my eye. He was undeniably tall and lanky, and he seemed to have a hobby of cutting the grass in his front lawn with a pair of craft scissors. It was weird at first, since he looked like he was really enjoying cutting the grass using craft scissors, smiling at the ground. I thought I might as well give him gardening shears as my, "Hi, I'm your new neighbor, nice to meet you," instead of delivering a casserole or something. One night, I saw him from across the street staring blankly at me from the window of his living room. The moment I caught his eye, he waved at me, smiling, with his gums and weirdly even teeth showing. There's something unnerving about him, and it makes me uncomfortable. So I decided to shut the windows and give in to sleep. I woke up to the sound of someone pounding on the door and ringing the doorbell. It was 3 a.m. Who would be knocking at my door at this hour? Guess who? It's the creepy guy from next door. I peeked through the window just beside the door, and I saw his head snap towards my direction, staring intently at me, smiling, with 2 small bags of groceries in hand. I panicked and decided not to open the door. I mean, it was really creepy. He continued pounding on the door with his fist, ringing the doorbell at the same time. So I decided to face him and tell him to go away. As I opened the front door, he was there, standing tall in front of me. His huge gums were the first thing that I noticed as he spoke to me. "Can you help me with my groceries?" His voice was too little for his frame, yet it was loud. He had a problem pronouncing S. And he was only carrying 2 bags that seemed very light, so why would he even bother me at this time of night? At first I tried politely declining, reasoning that he didn't need help in carrying his groceries since he can perfectly handle it by himself, but his eyes suddenly looked violent, yet his huge smile never faded. "Can you help me with my groceries?" he repeated, a little louder than before. His once question was now sounding more like a furious demand. "No," I said. His breathing became heavy and loud, making me feel all panicked and scared. He continued to demand that I should help him with his groceries louder and louder, until he was shouting with his smile never fading. I decided that I should run back to the house, and I shut the door in his face. He continued to bang on the door, shouting for 10 straight minutes, until he grew tired and finally stopped. The few seconds of silence was deafening, until I heard a soft tap on the window. His face was pressed against the glass pane. "I know you're still there," he said, and he smiled even wider than usual. Then he ran towards the back of the house. Assuming that he was going to the back door, I ran as fast as I could, making sure that it was locked. Even as I did so, I felt the doorknob underneath my palm continue to move as he was trying to open the door very aggressively. "Go away," I said, "or I'll call 911. I was breathing heavily. I heard his footsteps slowly vanishing, so I ran again towards the window beside the front door, only to see him walking towards his home, still smiling at me.